Hello and welcome to my channel. I am BeardedDev, and in this video we're going to be doing something different on the channel. We're going to be discussing the different roles working with data. Don't forget, if you do like the video, please do hit that thumbs up button. So what we're going to be covering today, we're going to be talking about different roles that we can get into to work with data. So we're going to have a look at a SQL Developer role, DBA, Data Analyst, and a Business Intelligence Developer. So let me know in the comments, guys, below, whatever area you want to get involved in or you're currently working in. Now, the different roles we're going to go through, if you're working in that area, as you know, a lot of the skills cross different boundaries. So a SQL developer, for example, will have some administration skills where he won't be an expert in it like a DBA would be, and again a DBA will have strong T-SQL skills but maybe not to the level of a SQL developer. So we're just going to go over some basics about the roles and what they entail. So first of all, we're going to start looking at a SQL developer position. So what do they do? So mainly they'll be working with the development of database objects, so they'll be creating stored procedures, functions, views, triggers, so on. Any database objects they will be responsible for creating. So they will create new objects, they'll carry out changes to existing database objects as well. There may be bugs within the code, such as a stored procedure that they would be looking at. They'd also have the capability of writing complex queries, so they would have excellent T-SQL querying skills. They'd also be skilled in data modeling or normalization. So as we all know, it's very important for our database to be in normalized form, at least the normal form. So they would have skills in that area if they're carrying out a design to a new database or introducing new tables. Then it's very important for data redundancy that they need to have that skill set. And they'd also have some query optimization skills as well. So it's quite common that we'd have queries that are running slow or not performing as expected. And a SQL developer could also look into that. Like I say, we're not going to go into full extensive detail. There will be skills that cross over the different roles. I just wanted to do a video on just giving you an overview of the different roles working with data. So let me know in the comments what you think of this video. Is this something you enjoy, or would you prefer more videos on the technical side? So moving on to a DBA, a database administrator. So what do they do? So they implement, configure and maintain databases. So if there's new installation required, they would be heavily involved in carrying that out. Configuring, so what features of SQL Server or any other database management system do we need available, are we going to be using? And then maintaining the databases as well, so ensuring they're performing as expected. So ensuring the availability of databases as well, so that's very important. The last thing a business wants is their database to go offline, because as we know, as soon as that happens, that is a complete and utter disaster. So they'd have some disaster recovery procedures in place. They may use always on, high availability, things like that. They'd also be highly skilled in performance tuning and query optimization as well. So if there's anything where the query isn't performing as expected, there may be deadlocks on the server itself that they would look into as well. They'd also be managing the logins, users and permissions. So the last thing a database administrator wants is a user with that should only be reading data from a database, is to have capabilities of updating that data. So usually when you need certain permissions on a database, I know myself, I would go to the DBA and say I'd need it for this is what I'm going to be doing, so they would manage all of that as well. Carry out migrations or updates, so if we're looking at moving from SQL Server 2012 to 2016, or maybe we're even now looking at moving to Azure, so they'd be highly skilled in that area as well. They have some PowerShell skills. So PowerShell enables them to roll out administrative tasks to all databases, and they'd also have some SQL development skills, so they're probably going to have some strong T-SQL development skills there as well. So a data analyst, moving on to a data analyst now, so they usually look at the data that is present. They may have some T-SQL query skills themselves to investigate the data. They're going to identify trends and opportunities for improvement. So they're going to analyse the data over time. Maybe they work for a shop, for example. They would be responsible for identifying products that sell well, or also products that are not doing so good. They'd really have strong Excel skills. So that Excel, as we know, is used for data analysis, so they'd have a lot of skills within Excel, working with pivot tables, creating line charts to show how the data has changed over time. Again, moving on to the next point, they create reports to analyse performance, so KPIs, how is certain areas performing, how is it performing over time. Investigating unexpected changes, so if we use the example earlier of analysing data for a shop or selling products selling really well and then all of a sudden it drops, so what has caused that? Carrying out the root cause analysis, maybe I don't know, maybe it was the weather, there's been an act of God that has played havoc and sales have suddenly dropped. But they'd also investigate why a product has suddenly shot up. Has it been well publicised recently? So they want to know everything about any changes to the business, and they'd usually report that back to key stakeholders, directors, managers within the business as well. So moving on to a business intelligence developer. So within a Microsoft environment, they're likely to have skills within integration services, reporting services, and analysis services as well. So they'd have some SQL development skills, probably strong T-SQL, probably not as strong as a full-out SQL developer, but they would have strong T-SQL skills as well. I'm not saying that business intelligence developers are not as good as SQL developers. All of these roles are equally as important. In terms of salary, they're all pretty similar, and like I say, the skills really cross over between the different roles as well. So BI developer would be developing and maintaining ETL packages, so if they're working with SQL Server and Microsoft, that's going to be SSIS, so they create packages to take the data from the sources, transform it into usable format, and then load it. And again, they're developing and maintaining the data warehouse, so that would be typically loaded into the data warehouse, and then they'd create reports from that to drive business decisions. So how are our sales going? And again, they'd probably work closely with the data analysts. They'd probably create those reports so the data analysts can make decisions off the back of that. And they'd also have some data visualization skills. So if they're creating reports for the management team,